Yeah,
Tell me about how did you meet Mom?
okay, well, this was, well, in college, my roommate, when I was a freshman,
Yeah.
was Terry Olson, who is also from Rice Lake and was a great athlete. And
Yeah.
my buddy and his dad is Stick Olson, who is a tremendous guy and a guy who coached me and Terry in baseball.
Okay.
That's where I learned how to. Well, it's another topic, but I coached little kid baseball for a
Yeah.
long time. But that was because I was taught by him. So anyway, and I don't. Well, it was we're at. I suppose this was when I was a junior, maybe in college. Probably must have been. And then we somehow, and I don't remember this exactly, but we got invited to by maybe a group of 6 or something to go on blind dates.
Okay.
And my friend Terry's Olson's date was my mom. I mean, your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, so I I told Terry the next time we went on, I said, why don't we switch dates? Because I just, from the minute I
Aw.
saw Dotty, I knew she was my soulmate. I don't know. I mean,
Just had that feeling.
I just did. And we started dating, and then during the summers, what I would do to impress her is I used to send her letters on birch bark.
Really?
And I always figured that was the thing that won her over.
Yeah.
And
Aw.
so, well, I would do anything to impress her, of course.
Yeah.
And finally, she decided that she would be my soulmate, and
Oh, so how
we had a lot of good years together.
you did?
Yeah.
Do you remember how you proposed to her, asked her to marry you? Anything?
I actually don't remember, other than it was kind of a mutual deal. I
Yeah.
mean, somehow after we were dating for, at college and stuff, and
Yeah.
just knew everything was going to be good. And then, of course, you've got photos of our wedding. Of course, that was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
Tell me about your wedding. You got married in what church?
Well, the big Unitarian church in St. Paul, and that's, of course, where
Unity.
Unity, and that's where parents had gone, and
Mm-hmm.
and so we had, yeah, I mean, it was, her dad, Grandpa Turner, was a graduate of Harvard, and of course, this was a super big deal.
Yeah.
So it was really a big party, and
Aw.
yeah. No, of course, we've got all kinds of pictures of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And after you got married, where did you and Mom live?
Um,
Were you in Minneapolis? Is that?
We lived for the first year. That was the year I got a job at Control Data, who doesn't exist as Control Data anymore, but we're a technology company,
Right.
and Dottie got a job as a teacher because she was, had her degree in elementary
Right.
education, and I did travel. I mean, I selected sites for data systems. I mean, back then, it fits into the little thing now, but then, they were
Big.
monsters. I mean, with,
Right.
cooling towers and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
what I did was, I hit almost, I don't know, but I traveled a lot state to state, and they'd select the site and then turn it over if it fit the criteria.
Yeah.
Then I'd turn it over to the technical
Gotcha.
people. But I would do they try and find the criteria, and find the site that met the criteria
Right.
to build a data center.
So that job with Control Data, that was in Minnesota?
That was in Minneapolis, yeah.
Okay.
And we
And then where'd you guys go after that?
went to North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Then my,
You in New
I had,
Jersey for a while too?
yeah,
So
my friend, well, what happened was the guy, I played at, when we were in Minneapolis, I played with, at tennis. I mean, I was an awful good tennis player. I mean, we played at, not pro level, but right below pro
okay.
level.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that I played with, I got a job in North Carolina with a company that built at that time, was really ahead of the schedule, was building shopping centers and malls and shopping centers. But anyway, so this was in North Carolina, and so I did. I don't know. I did the same thing. I selected sites,
Yeah.
and then the big boss, he would decide on whether he could buy them or not. And during that year, and of course everything was built on borrowed money, and then a recession hit in, and the company went broke. So I told Dotty, guess what? We don't have a job anymore. And
Yeah.
she didn't. I think she was doing substitute teaching then, so we didn't have hardly any money.
Yeah.
So then where the heck did I get? How did I end up? Oh, then a guy named John Lane, who was another guy that I knew from college, and he had a company in New Jersey, or actually in New York City.
Okay.
I mean, it was located, but I would commute from New Jersey into Manhattan for a year. So I went in, go into the, well, you've been into New York and the undergrounds and stuff. So
Right, the subway,
so I'd
sure.
take the railroad into the subway center, and then I worked in the what's it? One of the big I can't even remember which one it was anymore, but a high tower
Yeah. Okay.
building in New
Yeah.
York for a year.
Hmm.
And then, and I did not like that.
No.
I did not like living in New York, and I didn't like commuting,
Yeah.
and I just, well, for the first time, I mean, it was a learning experience, but I know one of the things I remember is when I was writing, being a Midwesterner, I'd, sit down by somebody, hey, how you doing? Having a good day? And they'd look at you, all right, stay away from me. What do you want?
Right.
I mean, it was just
That's
it
unusual.
was just a New York attitude that
Yeah.
I didn't like then. I don't like now. It's still the same.
Right.
And so anyway, then where the heck did I go next? Then I joined. Then I got Al Chida was a guy who was the personnel manager for General Growth.
Okay.
And he called me up and said, we're looking for a real estate expert for Martin Buxbaum. And I said, well, I didn't have a job. So I said, we played golf together and stuff. I said,
Yeah.
well, blow a little smoke up his ass, and and Martin hired me, and I was, for the first year, I maybe even longer than that, what I would do is, I was sort of public relations guy. I would go to Manhattan a lot, and to Citibank and other banks,
Yeah.
and and then they would say, this is Mr. Olund, he's got a master's degree in business and a long business, and then Martin taught me to don't tell him the right things,
Right.
and then we used to want to borrow $20 million if and here's the next expert opinion from Mr. Olund. Oh yeah, and I
Right.
said, oh yeah, sure.
Wow.
And so then, well, and that was the beginning of the shopping center industry.
Okay.
And General Growth, what did I work there 25 years from till I retired.
Right.
And I probably, well, I'm sure I traveled in every state, and I traveled, in Europe a little bit.
Hmm.
We never did
Didn't know that.
never did place alone in Europe, but I did research for, I don't know, several trips
Yeah.
into Germany and France and Switzerland and stuff. I never, it just seemed, I basically felt, and Martin did too, is that we weren't the right people to test that.
That market.
But
Mm-hmm.
I was, personally involved in, wasn't totally in charge of the mall in Eau Claire
Mm.
and one in Appleton, and then we in California.
Yeah.
You've seen the places where General Growth
Mm-hmm.
built, and then we built the mall in Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
I was in charge of I didn't personally supervise it, but I was in
Yeah.
charge of the site selection.
Huh.
So that's what I did for, 25 years.
Yeah. And how old were you when you retired again?
50, what was I, 52? 50, yeah, I think so.
53? Yeah, my age.
Yeah, I retired when I was your age, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna